still have to pretend you're being that perfect mom, feeling so lonely and feeling like you're the only one going through things. Nothing has changed in the 20 some odd years. You're still going from one child to another feeling the same way. Okay, I've got to act like I've got it all together. I need to pretend I'm the perfect mom, and I'm not allowed to yell, and I'm not allowed to do this, and feeling guilty for whenever you do it. This is normal parents.
Being a mom is a lot. We're holding so much. I'll go first. I was catching up with a friend on the phone and gave her a long overdue update on every corner of my life. We started talking about the kids, and I mentioned how the new preteen era is interesting, to say the least. Seems like we have new territory to cover every week. Her kids are all in their 20s, and she reassured me. You're such a good mom. You do so much for your kids. I sighed. Some days, I really don't know how it's all going to turn out. And I'm thinking about the dentist's office a year ago, when somebody in a paper bib and nitrile gloves said almost the same thing to me. The kids and I went for our annual checkup at the dentist. Crossing our fingers for no cavities, right guys? I said on the bus ride there. We haven't had any cavities yet, my daughter beamed. That's pretty good for an 8 and 11-year-old, right? Yeah, definitely. But it's been a year since our last visit, so you never know. I do think our cleaner diet with very limited sweets helps, though. Why do we only go once a year again? My son piped in. Our budget only allows for that right now, sweetie. Oh, right. I forgot about that, he said. It had been a while since they had gotten x-rays, so when the hygienist checked with me, I said to go ahead. Once he was lying down in the chair, she asked if he had been brushing at least twice a day and flossing at least once a day. I told her he was lacking in the flossing department. She confessed hers don't floss either, with that universal mom shrug. As she cleaned his teeth, though, she noted how clean they looked. You can tell they don't eat much sugar. You're doing such a good job, Mama. I felt a small wave of relief. Then the dentist walked in and sat down to check his teeth and asked the hygienist to pull up the x-rays. Uh-oh. He probably has cavities. Otherwise, why would he say that? But obviously, that's routine to look at x-rays if we just did them. But then the reality bomb came. He looked up from my son and said, So, despite the good brushing, he has 8 cavities. I almost fell off my chair. What? He has 8 cavities? I gasped. Yep, so some of them are on baby teeth, but it's best if we take care of them now. I asked where in his mouth the cavities were, and he said mostly in between his teeth. I contained my frustration, thinking this could very simply have been avoided by flossing regularly. Oh my God, I can only imagine the cost of 8 cavities, I said, exasperated. My daughter, who was leaning against a small sink nearby, looked at me, breathed in loudly, and grimaced. The hygienist slowly raised the dental chair up to bring my son's sheepish face to meet mine. The 3 of us walked past the rest of the cubicles into the office near the front desk and sat down with the treatment coordinator. With only 2 chairs in the small space, my son sat on my lap. She pulled up his chart and gave us the news. So, I know this is a lot to take in. It does happen sometimes, unfortunately, for many reasons. I asked what we could do to prevent this from happening again, almost to delay the gut punch of the cost. She gave us tips for next time. I half listened, waiting for the number. And the question you've been asking in your head this whole time. What's it going to cost me? So for the 8 fillings, it is going to be $2,000. My son twisted around sharply and gave me a, "Did you just hear what she said?" look. I met his worried eyes and took a deep breath. He lowered his gaze to the floor and turned back around. She asked whether we had health insurance coverage. I said we had a yearly allocation for the whole family. She explained how we could split the payments over the coming months without interest to make it more manageable for us. My son was fidgeting in my lap, and I could feel his swirling nerves. I hugged him from behind and said, "It's going to be okay," even though I was apprehensive myself. As I stood at the front desk to insert my credit card into the payment machine, I tried my best not to do math in front of him. On the bus ride home, he was mostly quiet. He only spoke up to ask, "Are the fillings going to hurt?" A few days later, I was scrolling Instagram during my 5-minute daily limit while on a writing break, and a reel made my heart sink. It was from the Institute of Child Psych, and a list of bullets were read aloud by a child. "Mom and Dad, please don't share this with me. Your financial struggles. I need security, not stress. Details of your marriage conflicts. Protect my emotional safety. Your personal regrets. I'm not your therapist or friend. Negative opinions about family members. It confuses my loyalty. Adult secrets. I deserve a childhood, not burdens. Criticism about the other parent. It damages my sense of trust. Your insecurities. I learned confidence from you. Details of your childhood trauma. I can't process what you haven't healed. Emotional outbursts. I absorb everything you express. Gossip. I copy what you normalize." I listened to it again, shocked by the first bullet regarding finances. I started to spiral and realized this wasn't the first time I had talked about our financial challenges out loud with the kids around. What have I done? Now they're not going to feel secure and take on my worries. I'm going to give my kids the scarcity belief I have worked so hard to undo in myself. Ugh, did I just mess them up for life? I immediately regretted having my son in the office when she told us the cost of the dental work. As the days and months went by after seeing that reel, I started noticing all the moments I used money as the reason we couldn't do something. That costs a lot. I noticed how frustrated I got when anyone in the house would waste food, electricity, heat, or even toothpaste. I saw it as money being thrown out. I would scoop up the glob of toothpaste on the bathroom counter with my index finger and suck it back into the tube. When our gas bill came back double what it normally does in warmer spring months, I asked everyone to shut off the water when they weren't actively rinsing. I caught myself when I started to say, "We can't afford that." Some part of me knew I didn't want that to be his answer to himself years down the road. When the kids asked for a toy or game, I started to say, "Let's put that on your birthday wish list." Or, "Add it to your Christmas list." After my son asked me if all the money we had was in a goat cheese crumble container in the cutlery drawer that contained only coins, I stopped telling them how much things cost. They'd ask, and I'd say, "Don't worry about it." So my son stopped asking for things. I would be stressed out about finances and be short with the kids. I'd regret it, then go back later in the day to apologize and over-explain all the self-doubt inside me. I broke down talking about my career pivot in front of the kids because I was scared I wouldn't be able to support my family. that I'd never finished the book I had been writing. My daughter started asking with a disclaimer. So I know this is probably going to be a no because of the money, but like she didn't want to cause a problem. I'd taken the conversation away and replaced it with a wall. The list told me the wall would protect them. This is what my mother did. Probably what hers did too. My parents could barely make rent after starting a new business in a new industry in a new city. Their friend mailed them a wad of cash hidden in a box of deer sausage from Saskatchewan. This was 1994. I was the one who opened the box. And still, my mother never let on that they were struggling financially. But this time, a year later, I walked into the dentist's office and saw the proof in my son's mouth. I finally realized that the conversation I had been told never to have was the one that ended up working. Looking back now, I took it as absolute advice in the moment, not realizing it was lumping a bunch of different things into one bad mom verdict. To be clear, I agree with most of these. A kid shouldn't be their mom's therapist. But this one, your financial struggles, I need security, not stress. That one hit me hard because I was genuinely wondering if I had made the wrong move. Something like, I don't know how we're going to pay rent, is not the same as acknowledging $2,000 is a big chunk for us, so let's focus on flossing to prevent that from happening again. The Instagram reel bullet on finances would have said these two are the same thing, but they're not. So you can look at it from a place of participation. Our budget only allows us to go to the dentist once a year. The constraint is named so he can understand his own life. There's the education angle too. Here's how we decide what to spend our money on, where he can learn to handle money by watching how we handle it. This is how kids become adults who can talk about money without shame. And you know what? He totally got it. He started flossing regularly right after that conversation. Then he went through 3 long and nerve-wracking appointments, being poked with a needle, drilled into, and they made sure he'd never want to stop. A year later, when we went back, he had only 1 cavity. So the list wasn't wrong. It was rigged. There was no way I would have passed this test as a mom. Even if I followed every bullet to the letter, I would be a person putting on a show for an invisible grader. It was coarse advice. It told me I'd failed at something that I had actually gotten right. The list was saying I caused my son stress, but there's a difference between dumping and including him in his own life. By acknowledging the situation and having a conversation with him, he rose to the challenge. He took what I told him, and he went and flossed. And that's what a kid can do when you tell them the truth. The bigger picture here is that this list is an example of the system that produces the perfect mom facade. The facade is what we wear because tests like this list pop up in our awareness constantly, telling us we've failed at a different test no matter which one we passed. This reel is only one example, but there are so many parenting accounts who breed this system through their teaching. Books, podcasts, yes, touche. Articles, tips from a passing mom at pickup, and the dental hygienist saying, "You're such a good mom," while another voice tells you you failed somehow. So you can be praised on one dimension and judged on another on the same day. My friend on the phone had praised me for navigating the digital era well. The dentist's office, on a different week and year, told me my son had 8 cavities. I was the same mom, but with 2 different scorecards, both coming from outside of me. Remember that monologue from the Barbie movie about impossible standards for women? This is the motherhood version of that, but with a child reading it back to you. There isn't just one test you can pass or fail. There are dozens of tests, all at the same time, from people who don't know each other and aren't grading the same thing. You will always be failing one while passing another. The perfect mom facade is what we wear because we don't know which test the next person is grading us on. The rule in this Instagram reel suggests the logic of never let your kid know about money. But doesn't it then produce adults who can't talk about money with their partners, who hide bills, or who feel ashamed of their struggles? And that's how the facade gets passed down to the next generation. I'm going to be the mom who says, I read the list, and it broke me, and I wasn't wise enough yet to let it pass. The solution is not to wear the facade better. What I'm doing now is noticing the tests are rigged. Every time someone praises the visible parts, although with good intentions, you feel more compelled to maintain the invisible. The compliment literally tightens the rope. I can't count how many times people have said to me, I don't know how you do it. Referencing homeschooling, but also running a full-time business and all the other mom stuff. Only years later, after all the hustling, did I realize how much I had wanted to be that super mom. It was a cage I didn't even know I had locked myself into. I'm still walking out of it. Some days the lock catches again, but the room only opens when you name it. So I'm naming this one for both of us. This was the front room, the perfect mom facade. Before you close this episode, notice one test you've been failing in your head and ask yourself, who handed it to you? Send this to the one mom in your life who needs the room you just walked through. Next time, it's my turn. We walk into a room I've been putting off for years.